We're in for push today, guys. It's Monday the 26th? 26th, Sam, do you know the date? 27th. Right, guys, it is Monday, the 27th of March. Just under 7 weeks out, we are in for push today at Premier Gym. I feel like it's been the first upper body session in quite a long while. And to be fair, my training's been in a really good spot. My pushing movements haven't absolutely died yet, which is quite surprising because they usually do, they usually just die whenever you're in a prep. However, for now, everything's all good. I have been managing a slight pec strain, which is a little bit frustrating. I flat benched when I was in Canada just before prep, and I used I pretty much used some like bumper plates, and pretty much it resulted in my pec picking up a bit of a niggle. So this entire prep has been a case of like micromanaging a slightly meh left side. So today's exercise selection might be a little bit adjusted. We're going to play around with a few different bits of, not kit, but more so just a few different kind of movement patterns relative to what feels good, because I have been training chest at pretty much 100% capabilities, which is good, but I do need to be quite careful at this point because with 7 weeks to go to a show, the last thing I want to do is pick up an injury. So touch wood, there's no wood around me, but touch wood, hopefully I don't get injured. So yeah, in for push, volume at this point is almost at like a medium point. It's obviously less than what it would be at peak off season, so the last time I would have done, let's say, one of these sessions. However, it's still in a good set point. Overall, everything's ticking over nicely. I was 101.8 kilos this morning, so that puts me 17 kilos down from starting body weight, which sounds pretty wild, but yeah, really good. Training's in a good spot, everything's in a good position. So like I said, we'll just run you through the session today, guys, and yeah, let's get into it. Right guys, so first exercise ticked off, single arm cable lateral raise. Lateral raise for me, is it a bit of a shock? Not really. I'm not gonna say the same stuff that I say on every video. I don't really need more side delt, but I start any upper body push predominant session with some side raises just to get a bit of blood flow into the side delt. Something that I've been trying to tell myself, especially as I get leaner, it's very easy to kind of throw the weight around. So especially with some scapular elevation, almost if anything, shrugging the weight up. So if anything, what I'm trying to do is keep my elbow in a fixed position, not fully extended, but not in that kind of, let's say, 90-degree sort of angle. It's almost in between, like a 120-degree angle. And I'm thinking to, if anything, drag my arm up and then away to really try and, if anything, accentuate the side delt activation as I'm going through the actual lateral raise. Single arm cable set up around like waist height, just to kind of match, ideally, or if anything, place a bit more challenge in a more mechanical advantageous position for the side delt at that part of the session. And that's pretty much the first exercise. I have 3 sets, which used to be 4 sets and a rest pause. We'll get into in the latter part of the video, intensifiers and how to manipulate them relative to kind of, let's say, a prep and relative to, let's say, when they're going to be a benefit. But for now, it's more so a sense of just straight sets that are effective with not the least amount of fatigue possible, but just more so bang for our buck effective sets. So that's the first kind of exercise, just to get a bit of blood flow to the side delts, get my upper body, shoulder girdle, shoulders nice and warm. We're now moving into our first main press. I have 3 presses today, 5 total sets, 2 for the first, 2 for the second, and 1 for the third. A little bit of tempo manipulation as always with me. And to be fair with this, we're gonna be trying for myself a flat reverse banded Smith press. I actually niggled my pec, I said on a flat bench, but that was a flat bench. This was actually, I made it worse on the low incline reverse band. So hopefully I can have the bench flat, maybe a slight incline through manipulation of a block or a plate underneath the bench, but we'll kind of just get into it. Either way, I want a heavy press through a reverse band to kind of create a bit of a challenge at the shorter range, which when fresh, kind of makes sense. So yeah, let's see how it goes. 3, 2, 1, yeah. Good. Easy. Yes. Oh. Good. Come on, let's go. Oh. Go again. I'm there. Oh. Still 1. Oh. Should have done 4. Told you. I told you. filling up those glycogen stores, mate. Right, so I want you to get a cool edit of me sipping and then go, right guys, you just caught me drinking my inch workout. Get that on the reel, that'd be funny. So like, didn't even really sip any. Intra-workout supplementation. A few clients always ask me, and to be fair, I say so when they start up what they need. And I think an intra-workout is one thing that isn't essential, even though, to be fair, there's essential amino acids, so are they essential? But in all seriousness, when it comes to an intra-workout, I have creatine, 5 to 10 grams. For me, I only take creatine on training days, so I take 10 grams. It works out roughly the same as 5 grams per day. If you were to take it, I just forget on rest days, if I'm honest. I take highly branched cyclodextrin. You can take dextrose, carb powder. This is something that you can utilize to a higher degree from a quantity perspective when you're in a gaining phase off season to getting a bit more carbs. For me, currently it's 20 grams. It usually will stay between 20 to 50 grams depending on where I'm at in my phase. Let's say competition prep, gaining phase, etc. And I'll also have, I think it's 18 grams, which is 1 serving of essential amino acids. That's Recover EAA by Anova Farm. Tastes wicked, the panel's fantastic. And for the high branch cyclodextrin, it's Strom Carb Max Raw, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, that's what I have. I also have 2 scoops of taurine by CSN. Shout out to CSN, they supply all this for me. So reecefit 10, feel free to utilize my code. But that's pretty much my intra-workout supplementation. Like I said, is it needed? I personally think, especially when you get to a point where your training demands it, then yes, I do utilize an intra-workout. However, for some, I'd say you could just save your money, especially if you're having a big pre-workout meal and a big post-workout meal. It's not 100% needed, but that's what I currently take, in case you're wondering. And yeah, intra-workout supplementation 101 by Reece. Yep, get on me.
Yeah, fine. Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Come on, let's go. Press. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, there we go. So, that was good.
Set.
Oh. That was really good.
Yeah, that was better than the
First set. 2 sets there. I got on really well with that. That like mechanically seemed to suit me. There was a slight little bit of discomfort, but there's gonna be nothing too bad. And it's not like it's made it any worse. It's just when one side's a little bit weaker, you're gonna notice it. But 2 sets there. First set I did 3.75 plates per side. I got, I think 10 reps, and then I just got 4 plates as a second set for 8. But I was a lot more aggressive with the second set because I knew it felt pretty okay, where the first set I had to be a bit more cautious with it. But 2 sets there, I'll most likely, and this is something I don't really do when I'm dieting, but in an off season, if it's a new movement, or not even an off season, just in general training, like if the first set is something that's relatively new, maybe let's say like from a mechanical sense, you're not fully neurologically kind of connected to it, and therefore it might feel like a little bit of a different sort of movement pattern. I might sometimes take like a moderate repper, and then if it feels good, go for a heavier set. Like I'm not always going to work within a top set and back off set and stuff like this. It'll be a case where ideally I have a heavier set and a lighter set, but it won't always go heavy then light. It might be medium then heavy, or light then heavy, or heavy then light, whatever. So 2 sets there, both sets really, really good. And like that's made me excited now for pressing moving forward, because there's no excuse. Like, even though I will be getting leaner and lighter, that'll be progressing. So I'll open up on 4 plates next week. That'll be a sense where I'll be in a more kind of fresh perspective from, I won't be going in after 1 set before, I'll be going in on 4 plates. So yeah, all good there. We now move on to the same Smith, but just a different movement pattern. So we're doing a shoulder press now. So this session is pretty much just us battering the Cybex Smith. So when Sam comes up with when we come up with the video title, reecefit versus Cybex Smith, something horrendously cringy or something like that. That's what we'll go with. While Finn's in the toilet, I'll explain, Finn's not in the toilet. Finn.
World's fastest way.
Someone in the toilet?
In there, yeah.
Ah, fair enough. Right, well, I'll carry on. Finn's not in the toilet, Finn's here. This is the second main press, Smith shoulder press. Pretty much when we're thinking about how we're going to set up a push session, I think it's going to be very much dependent on your own individual needs, but then also covering different sorts of pathways. So the first main press, obviously for Finn, it's like a low incline. For me, it's a very slight incline reverse banded press. That's going to place with the band challenging the shortened as the band's going to assist in the lengthened. So when the pecs are fresh, kind of makes sense. And also if we think about the bias, more so upper chest focus, but more so a pec focus press. We then move into the Smith shoulder press. I always dislike, if I'm honest, when people say like, oh, is this a shoulder press or is this a chest press? There's going to be a good amount of anterior, so front delt, and then likewise, even a good amount of chest, just to, let's say, to actually stabilize and actually perform a vertical press. So this is a more shoulder bias press. So we've already ticked off up chest, challenging the shortened. We then take the band off. So this is more so placing an emphasis in the length into mid-range. We then will have the hoist, decline, but kind of a flat press with how we set it up. And that's where we're actually going to be manipulating the tempo to place a bit more of a bias in the lengthen. So similar to pretty much what I mentioned on the lower video, we're manipulating tempos, resistance profiles relative to the pec, and likewise what we're wanting to get out of this session. So yeah, Smith shoulder press, 2 sets here. Hopefully this goes well. My pecs are a little bit more fried because my loading was far greater on those first 2 pressing sets because they were 2 really good sets for me. So yeah, we'll see what I get. But overall, feel good, feel good. So 2 sets there, 2 very good sets. First set, 3 plates, a 5 per side and a 2.5 per side, which was a 5 and a 2.5 side up from my previous rotation. And then 3 plates taken for a back off set, which is good, especially considering the load was significantly greater on the first exercise. So Smith shoulder press ticked off 2 sets. We now move into 1 pause set of the hoist decline, which I've already kind of touched upon, but we place pause in the lengthen just to bias the lengthened, let's say, range relative to where we're pretty fatigued. Like our ability to get the pec short at this part, because we've done, let's say, 4 presses, is somewhat, it's already a little bit impaired, so therefore placing a bit more of a bias in that length and range. And to be fair with that hoist decline press, like the mechanics, I'm not gonna say we're amazing, but you can get it through that mid to shorter range. So yeah, it feels pretty good. We then, I don't know, I'm not sure if Finn is, but I move on to a few sets of cable flies and then literally just a bit of triceps and then a bit of abs, and that's the session. So yeah, we'll get into the decline now and we'll see how it goes. Get on me.
That's good. Come on in. Let's go. That's you.
So. good, all good. Good thing my cardio is good, because usually after any set I'll be absolutely battered and I won't be able to talk. So 2 sets there, pec fly. You'll notice that the main intention, or I'd hope you'd notice that the main intention is to get the elbow humerus across the midline. This is more so we have 3 sort of, let's say if we're looking at the pec, we've got the upper clavicular fibers, we also then have the sternal fibers and the costal fibers. With that, I'm trying to tick off like the midline, so pretty much just driving my elbow across the midline of my pec, and the main intention is getting my elbow, my humerus across the midline. If we think about the insertion point of the pec and like the origin to insertion point, we almost want to kind of match in line with the elbow path, or more so kind of in line with the path of the resistance profile relative to where we're going. So if anything, a lot of people do a cable fly or a machine fly and they'll just think about their hands. And in reality, if your elbow's bent, you're not getting the pec fully short. So what I try to do is, if anything, forget my hands. Obviously my hands are holding onto the handles, but this is the reason why you could also utilize wrist cuffs and have them placed either on like your upper arm or elbow, and just focus on literally just getting that elbow in and across. The load on something like this is almost irrelevant. Like I try not to effectively think too much about the load. I want to obviously be getting progressively stronger, but I want to make that internal feel as good as possible so the quality is there. So just 2 total working sets. I place a slight pause either end of the rep. This is just to aid standardization, so a slight pause in the lengthened, slight pause in the shortened, and that's pretty much going to be all the pec work done. Pecs are rinsed, #rinsed, fully rinsed. And now we move on to 5 sets of triceps. This used to be a push and arm session, so I used to have a little bit of bicep as well, but just with how I have my session split kind of currently, and I'll get into again recovery capabilities in a short while, I thought I'd pull out the biceps just so I'm fresh for my pull session on Wednesday, where I have a little bit of biceps, which is only in 2 days. So yeah, all good. Pecs done, bit of tries, and then bit of abs, bit of posing, and that is the session. I don't know if you can hear, the songs in this gym usually are pretty good. What the hell is on today? This is awful. Right, so intensifiers. These are things that, like for example, rest pauses, drop sets, cluster sets, some yeah buddy intensifiers, whatever you want to quantify them as. I think they definitely have their place. In an off season, even at the start of a prep, I still keep them in. However, at this point of prep, and more so from just a sense of recovery capabilities, lower food, higher expenditure, less body fat, all that sort of stuff that's going to contribute towards me not recovering as well, all intensifiers are stripped out. So for example, right now I'm doing triceps. I've just got 5 straight sets. Prior to this, let's say in previous phases, I'd probably place drop sets or maybe rest pause sets. So basically what we do is we just look at the efficiency and the bang for our buck relative to kind of stimulus, relative to fatigue. So when you can recover from it, I place plenty of intensifiers. But right now, it's just a sense of straight sets, getting what I can out of a straight set, just based off recovery capabilities. And this, if anything, has been probably the reason why this prep's been a fair bit easier than my last prep, because I kept everything in up until about 3 or 4 weeks out where I just wasn't recovering. And in a prep, if you're digging a hole, sometimes you have to dig, but if you can't climb out, it's not a good recipe for, let's say, a successful prep. So this time, all intensifiers at this point are pretty much out, and it's just straight sets. So something you might want to incorporate if you're dieting or at the back end of maybe a prep, or like I said, diet. Sound? Right guys, that's the session. Finn's outro apparently on his YouTube video is 6.5 minutes long.
Nah, I'll trim that down.
It's definitely not.
It's
This is definitely not going to be.
It was
6.5
Reece
minutes long.
rambling.
Yeah, don't know about that. Anyway, that's the session. Push A for me. Ticked off just under 7 weeks out. Literally same kind of setup as we've always done. A few presses, fly,
It's always
bit
a good
triceps.
session, that.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable session. Like, it's been nice because I said during the video, like, my pressing work's been very inconsistent recently, which is frustrating. It's been consistent, but just consistently met. Where that was the first session where, like, I actually could attack a bit of a weight, and I was like, oh, that feels good. So, yeah, a lot of positives to take, which actually leads me to be more excited now for pressing work. I just need to be quite meticulous with like exercise selection because that first press, like you said, you said straight away, you were like, that was good. I could unrack it, I could get it, I get after it, which is what you want. You don't want to be doing sets where you're thinking, oh, this feels a bit off, this feels a bit off. So yeah, it was enjoyable. And then went through some posing. Like, visual look is kind of where it needs to be at this point. Still a little bit more to come off, but at this point, like with 7 weeks to go,
Much better in the last week.
Yeah, much better. Like, it was one of those where I had a deload, I got ill, and then it was a case where I had a few days of normality, but then I literally refed, gained a bit of water just from the increased food, and then likewise increased glycogen. And then it's almost skewed the look slightly relative to what I expected. Where today I posed, and within literally like 20 seconds, like me and Finn both looked at each other and we were like, yeah,
The section looks a lot better.
Yeah, a lot better. So yeah, things are good. Things are where they need to be at this point. Like, really stress-free, like with how things are. Like, everything's just ticking over nicely. So plan of action will be literally assess body weight, assess day to day. At this point, to be fair, we didn't mention this on the podcast, but at this point, like, it's literally a case of every morning sending Finn a voice note saying, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm thinking, and we seem to be right now in a similar sort of thought process. Just literally take it day by day.
The thing is, like, when you're in that position at the end of a prep, it's not that you don't know what you're doing, it's that you just need clarification that what you're doing is not stupid.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could make stupid decisions. Like, but if you just run it by someone who you trust, like, more often than not, I'll agree with you.
This morning, literally I said, right, let's wait till Wednesday, Thursday for a refeed, and unless body weight dies tomorrow, and even then if it dies tomorrow, it's like, it
getting leaner, don't stress.
Sound cool, things are good.
So you feel alright, don't you? We said if your sleep gets worse, then that's maybe when.
I should actually mention, last night's sleep was probably
going to be 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 minutes, sorry, speed up. Last night's sleep was the first night of prep where I was like, oh, I can tell I'm prepping. Sleep was just impacted a little bit, and waking up, I went to the toilet 4 times for a week, which isn't amazing, but more so just like waking up really easily and being quite awake, which is unfortunately what happens when you get leaner, food's lower, lipolytics and let's say androgens are involved to kind of put yourself in more of a hyped up. Oh yeah, sorry, I don't know if anyone knows, I'm actually not natural. Sorry to anybody, especially my mum, sorry. But no, in all seriousness, like when it comes to those sorts of things, they are going to impact sleep towards the latter end of a prep to normal. But at the same time, I've got to make sure to kind of stay on top of sleep routine, sleep supplementation. It's more so routine, if I'm honest. And like yesterday was a busy day.
Yesterday was a busy one.
Yeah, we had a show. We're rambling on. That's the video. Subscribe, like, comment. Thanks as always for watching. Next time we'll be seeing you. We'll be both of our YouTube videos for the Once You're In You're In podcast, and that'll be like a separate video. And then I think I'm booked in with Sam on like late next month, like the 23rd. So I'll be like 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, which is going to be fun. So look forward to that. Thanks, guys. See you later.
I have to do some vlogs in